They say all good things must come to an end, and the next series of Salvage Hunters, which we shot last year and airs in the autumn, is my last. So everyone, take care. Thank you so much.
Drew Pritchard became a household name through Salvage Hunters, where his love for antiques and eye for hidden treasures made him a favorite among fans. For years, viewers watched him travel across the country to restore and sell rare finds. But as time went on, many began to wonder what had happened to Drew and why things seemed to change. From his announcement about stepping away from the show to major changes in his business, Drew's life took a different turn. Join us as we discuss what really happened to Drew Pritchard.
£750. How about 300?
Well, to replace it, if you were lucky, would be 750 because it's quite a good one.
It is quite a good one. I can't pay 750 because there's no money left in it. I've got to see a profit.
Quite a lot has happened to Drew Pritchard since Salvage Hunters premiered on TV, but none gained as much attention as his recent announcement about taking a back seat from the show. Drew has been the face of Salvage Hunters for years, appearing in more than 240 episodes. His sharp eye for antiques and his distinct approach made him stand out. When he joined the show in 2011, he described it as one of the greatest opportunities of his career. He said working on Salvage Hunters had been a privilege, and that his main goal had always been to show viewers what the antique trade was really like. The show's format was simple. Each episode followed him as he traveled across the United Kingdom in search of antiques. He visited shops, fairs, warehouses, and even old country homes. What he found, he bought, restored, and sold at his base in Conwy. The idea worked because it was real. Every deal was genuine, and every restoration was part of Drew's daily life. There were no staged reactions. Everything viewers saw reflected what really happened in the trade. One of his co-stars, Alistair Dryburgh, also spoke about why the show worked so well. He said that filming was completely real, with no staged scenes. The crew filmed for hours just to capture a few minutes of television, but the result was worth it because everything shown was genuine. They paid for every item with their own money and took the same risks as any professional dealer. That commitment to authenticity was something Drew always insisted on. Drew's announcement came in the spring of 2024, when he confirmed that the 20th series of Salvage Hunters would be his last. He explained that he had been thinking about it for some time and felt it was the right moment to move on. After so many years of filming and traveling, the constant workload had taken its toll. Still, he made it clear that his decision came from a place of peace and pride. He felt that the show had accomplished what it set out to do, and that it now had a strong team ready to carry it forward. As the final episode of Drew's last season approached, fans began to reflect on how much the show had achieved. Few series had stayed so true to their purpose for so long, yet Salvage Hunters managed to make it fascinating for viewers who might never have set foot in an antique shop. Drew made old objects come alive again by sharing their stories and showing how they could be given a second life. Although Drew's departure marked a major change, he left the show in capable hands. He explained that the series would continue with trusted dealers and close friends, including Alistair Dryburgh, Vicky Knott, and a new face yet to be introduced. He also asked fans to keep an open mind and to give the new team the same support they had given him when he first started. Speaking of support, Drew has been married to his supportive wife Rebecca for over 2 decades, but unfortunately, their love story didn't end as many had hoped. You see, the Pritchards' love story began in the early 1990s, built on a shared passion for antiques and restoration. At the time, Rebecca worked in the fashion industry, while Drew, on the other hand, was just beginning to build his antiques business. Their paths crossed when Rebecca visited Drew's shop, and that meeting changed everything. What began as a simple conversation quickly turned into a connection neither of them expected. They shared the same creative vision and a desire to bring old pieces back to life. That shared interest grew into friendship, and later into romance. After a few months of dating, they decided to take their relationship to the next level. They got married and began building a family together. As the years passed, their teamwork became the foundation of both their family and their business. They appeared as a couple who had built not just a successful business, but also a fulfilling life together. However, behind the cameras, trouble was looming. Fast forward to 2017, Drew's life took an unexpected turn when details of his private life became public. According to multiple reports, Drew was allegedly involved with a woman named Amanda Thomas. They met through Drew's son, and what started as friendly conversations between parents grew into something deeper. The exact timeline of their relationship is unclear, but things took a turn when Amanda's husband, Janus Bryn Thomas, discovered what was going on. Janus was a respected businessman who ran a successful crane company in North Wales. At first, he didn't notice anything unusual, but over time he began to see Drew's name appear repeatedly on his wife's phone. The constant calls and messages raised suspicion. When he finally confronted Amanda about it, she admitted to the relationship. Feeling guilty and determined to fix her marriage, Amanda decided to end things with Drew. However, Drew didn't take the breakup well. After Amanda cut ties, he sent her a text message insulting her husband and calling him a coward. Amanda showed the message to Janice, and that led to a heated series of events that soon became public news. Some days later, Janice confronted Drew at the Liverpool Arms, a popular pub in Conwy, North Wales. That confrontation led to Janice punching Drew several times before others stepped in to separate them. Because of Drew's status as a television personality, the incident drew immediate attention from both the local press and national outlets. The story spread quickly. Police were called to the scene, and Janice was later arrested and charged in court. The situation also created problems for Drew. Although he was the victim in the altercation, the publicity hurt his reputation. Reports suggested that he was placed on a temporary pub watch list, restricting him from entering local pubs while the matter was being reviewed. Later, he was said to have been involved in another disagreement with an unnamed man, which led to a permanent ban from several pubs in the area. But that was only the beginning of his problems. At the time of the incident, Drew was still legally married to Rebecca Pritchard. The two had worked side by side for years, both on television and in business. However, when the news reached Rebecca, the trust they shared broke. Some months after the incident, Rebecca filed for divorce, officially ending their marriage after many years together. Although they were legally separated, Drew and Rebecca managed to remain professional. They continued appearing together on Salvage Hunters, keeping their personal issues out of their work as much as possible. Rebecca focused on her design projects and antique sourcing, while Drew continued to run his business and front the show. This continued until Rebecca finally stepped away from the show after the 18th season. Although she didn't specify her reasons, the farewell video posted by Salvage Hunters suggests that she wants to try new challenges and wants to make space for the next generation on the show. After the Pritchards' divorce was finalized, their financial settlement caught public attention because of how valuable their shared assets were. Even though the separation was said to be amicable, the court decided that Rebecca should receive part of their combined wealth, estimated at $8 million. The division of property was handled to make sure both sides were treated fairly and could move forward with their lives. Among the assets in the settlement was their family home, an 18th-century chapel that Drew bought in 1995. The property, located in Conwy, North Wales, had become one of Drew's most remarkable projects. When it was put up for sale for £795,000, it reflected the care and craftsmanship that had gone into restoring it. It is also safe to say that the chapel had a mix of history and charm. Previously owned by Rolling Stones frontman Mick Jagger, the house was more than a measure of success. It symbolized Drew's passion for restoration and the life he and Rebecca had built together. While the financial settlement drew the public's attention, Drew and Rebecca focused on keeping their family stable. They made a joint effort to raise their two children with care, choosing cooperation over conflict. Both agreed that their children's peace of mind mattered more than anything else. While the divorce and financial settlement took a toll on Drew, his latest project created new challenges that forced him to sell many of his antiques. It is well known that Drew buys and restores anything old that has value. Over the years, he turned forgotten treasures into admired pieces. His latest challenge came when he bought a historic Georgian townhouse in Bath for £1.5 million. The property had history and potential, and Drew's goal was to restore it to its original glory. But what started as a dream soon turned into one of his toughest projects yet. Drew began the project with a clear plan, setting aside £200,000 for the renovation. He expected that amount to cover most of the work. However, within months, his plans began to fall apart. The cost of materials and labor increased drastically, and rising inflation made it difficult to stay within budget. Plumbing and electrical work alone ended up costing over £150,000, leaving little money to complete the rest of the restoration. To keep the project alive, Drew had to make some hard choices. He decided to sell his antique warehouse and part with the personal items he had collected for more than 30 years. These were not ordinary pieces. They were items that carried memories and stories from his long career in antiques. Letting them go was not easy, but it was the only way he could raise money to continue his renovation. In total, about 600 antiques were sent to auction. The collection included rare pieces such as a fossilized Irish elk skull and a Steamboat Willie model that Drew had bought for £3,500 and later sold for £5,500. Some sales went well, but many items failed to meet their reserve price. When the auction ended, Drew realized the total amount raised would still not be enough to finish the project. As weeks passed, the situation became even harder. Drew told his builder that the renovation would have to stop if new funds did not come in soon. He hoped for a quick solution, but none came. With no other option, he decided to pause the project. Instead of finishing the whole house, he focused on completing the top 2 floors so he could move in. These included his bedroom, bathroom, and guest rooms. The remaining sections of the building were left unfinished. For Drew, this was more than a financial setback. He had always taken pride in bringing old buildings back to life, and having to stop halfway through a project went against everything he believed in. Still, he chose to see it as a temporary pause, not a failure. Moving into the finished part of the home gave him time to plan his next steps while keeping the rest of the property safe until he could resume work. For now, the Bath property remains partly restored, its walls holding both beauty and unfinished dreams. Drew continues to live in the completed section, surrounded by the kind of history he has spent his life saving. Though the project tested him more than most, it also showed his resilience and love for his work. However, the uncompleted property in Bath wasn't the only challenge Drew faced. You see, Drew has always been a hard worker, and his persistence paid off in 2017 when he opened his famous antique store in Conwy. Unlike most antique shops, which are small and modest, Drew's store was a landmark. Visitors from across the world came to see it after watching him on Salvage Hunters. And soon, the shop turned into more than a business. It became a destination. It brought life to Conwy, drawing in tourists and antique lovers who wanted to experience the place they had seen on television. The store's success reached far beyond local buyers. It attracted a wide range of clients, including celebrities, designers, and restaurateurs. Each visitor came for something different, some for inspiration, others to buy, and many just to admire the craftsmanship. For years, the shop thrived, and it undoubtedly became part of Conwy's identity. The town saw more visitors than ever before, and the locals credited Drew for putting Conwy on the map. His store didn't just sell antiques, it boosted local tourism and inspired others to take pride in preserving old things. Everything seemed to be going well until the unimaginable happened. In May 2022, Drew shocked everyone when he announced that he would be closing the store. He gave no detailed explanation, only mentioning that it was time to move on to new pastures. Fans were taken aback. Many people had traveled long distances just to visit the famous emporium, and the news of its closure felt like losing a piece of history. For Conwy, it was the end of an era. The store had become part of the town's heart, and its closure left a gap that couldn't easily be filled. Not long after Drew shut the doors, a local restaurant group took over the location. While business continued in a new form, many still remembered the shop for what it represented. For Drew, the closure marked a turning point. He continued to run his business online, selling antiques through digital channels, but for many loyal fans, it wasn't the same. The Conwy store had been more than a showroom. It had been a piece of living history. Speaking of history, Drew and his sidekick John T have undeniably shared quite a journey. Drew once talked about his childhood in North Wales, where he and John T spent their days exploring the beaches. They would look for old oars and boat parts that had washed ashore. After gathering their finds, they carried them home and sold them by the roadside. Those early days showed how both boys shared a love for discovery and a natural curiosity for turning discarded things into something useful. Their friendship began there, built on hard work and imagination. As they grew older, that bond never faded. Long before Salvage Hunters became a thing, T was already learning and gaining experience working with Drew at his antique shop. He understood the patience needed for long trips, the focus required to find hidden treasures, and the satisfaction that came from restoring old items. By the time the show premiered, T already knew exactly what to do, and together they became a team that audiences loved. On the show, T was the one always carrying heavy pieces, helping with the deals, and joking during long drives. His humor gave the show a positive vibe, and his chemistry with Drew was one of the reasons viewers stayed glued to the screen. That is why it came as a surprise when fans heard that John T had left Salvage Hunters. Although there were rumors that T left after some conflicts, those claims were later debunked. Reports later confirmed that T's departure wasn't caused by any dispute or disagreement. It was simply a matter of contracts. His agreement with the production team came to an end, and he decided not to renew it for the next season. In the entertainment industry, contracts play a vital role in who stays and who leaves, and T chose to step away after years of dedication. A year and some months later, Drew also made his announcement. No doubt Drew's decision shocked fans the most, and many are curious about what lies ahead for him. So what comes next for Drew Pritchard? Well, Drew has hinted that he may be quitting TV altogether, although he didn't completely close the door on television. His main focus now is on his personal life and his restoration work. He He has been busy restoring his Georgian townhouse in Bath, which was previously featured in the spin-off Salvage Hunters, Georgian House Restoration. Drew has said that he plans to continue doing what he has always done best, searching for antiques and restoring them. He still buys and sells, still collects, and still finds joy in bringing old pieces back to life. He has also said that he plans to spend more time on his car collection, another passion that has followed him throughout his career. Leaving television after 14 years was not an easy decision, but Drew appears content with his choice. His time on Salvage Hunters gave him recognition and a legacy that will last long after the final episode airs.